Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to be talking about the most common producer scams. And this is the main one that I'm going to be talking about is the one that has stung a couple of our people. And a lot of it just had to do with they just weren't looking at the red flags. And the other part was they'd gotten excited and they thought, okay, I got it. And they were just talking to the wrong person. So don't worry, we're going to clear all that up. It's going to make absolute sense by the time we're done. So let's talk about this. Here's what we're going to do today. So first, we'll talk about the difference between the producers you want versus the ones you don't want. Because just if you just got that part, that might save you all the pain that. Hang on just a moment here. Second, we'll talk about yellow flags and red flags so that you know what they are, so that you know what to look for, you know what to avoid. We'll talk about specifically how to avoid the scams. I'll give you 4 keys to marketing successfully. And then I'll give you an invitation to come market with us, which could make all the difference for you. So, what's the problem? Here's the big problem. A tiny percent of producers are scamming writers. And the reason why I'm talking about it now is because it is happening more right now than it was back before the pandemic. And I think the reason why is because they're starving. They're financially in difficult places. And that's small, and it is a tiny percentage. It's about 1 to 2%. So don't be thinking, oh, I can't market my script because, oh my God, it's going to happen all over the place. All you've got to do is be smart. Don't worry. I promise you, I will give you what you need here. The bigger problem is assuming that a lot of producers are doing this and being paranoid. Uh, we actually just had somebody who almost turned down a real deal because she had just blanketed the whole thing and said, they're all scamming. So everything that the producer said or did, she assumed was a scam. Don't do that. And you don't have to, again, you don't have to worry about it. Once you have clarity, you're safe. So, and then the biggest problem is when people just shut down and not market their script. This might have to do with worry about scam, but more likely it just has to do with they don't know what they're doing. They don't actually have it kind of built in to who they are, or they're new to marketing, and because of that, they're shutting down. So this is just something you just want to let go of as soon as possible. So I'm going to use the words bad versus good producer here. And on this one, the thing I'm going to show you, they are what I would call a bad producer. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing. So here's our categories, our 2 categories: bad producer, good producer. This should become pretty clear as I'm talking. So what does a bad producer do that's different than a good producer? The bad producer doesn't need you to see your script. The good producer reads your script and comes back with notes. Now, let's just pause right there for a moment. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for a producer who it makes sense that they would read the script, right? And this is what's weird is over here it doesn't make sense that they'd read the script. So let's be clear on this. Let's say this producer is somebody who's spent their time in production, and never done the business side. In their world, what happens is they get a call. Let's say, they're a line producer or something like that. They get a call. The The big production company wants them to come to work. They give them a date. They say, here's where when we're gonna do the prep. We're gonna do some meetings beforehand, schedule all of this stuff, right? And they're hired all without seeing the script. Now, if they're a line producer, they will then see the script because they need to map out everything that's going to happen and do a budget and all kinds of things like that, right? They will need to see the script, but they won't see it the same way our producer does, the one who is going into business, the one who is, as in they are creating a business around your project. They are optioning the project and taking it out to market and shopping it. This producer needs to see the script and they're going to come back with notes. They're going to come back with improvements. This producer over here, even if they saw the script, they would just be blocking it out and trying to figure out, what locations do we need, what budget do we need, what all the different things that a line producer might do. So in their world, your script is just a bunch of paper that helps them figure out the timing of things. Uh, they don't need to see the script other than that. And by the way, well, let's keep going. Their purpose, the bad producer, is to get paid by the writer. And there's a reason, because that's how they do work. They get hired to do the job. And they're used to getting hired to do the job. So all they've done is they've started pretending that you're the producer on the project. The good producer over here, their purpose is to option the script and move through the process. Now, let's go over here. The bad producer often is charging for services. And this means things like they're charging you to create a budget. They're charging you to create a lookbook. They're charging you to create whatever the other things are that they need to go into production. Let's be clear, they can charge you for those services and never, ever go into production. So keep that in mind. And then over here, the good producer is shopping your script instead of charging you for services. Let's go for one more. The bad producer asks you for money. The good producer raises the fundings and makes the movie. Look just at this side. This is the journey you're wanting. Unless you're the person, unless you really are, truly are producing your own project and you want to make the movie and that kind of thing, well, then you would go find a legitimate line producer and some of the other people that involved, a director, and you would move through it. But if what you're trying to do is to get your script optioned and have somebody make your movie, this is what you're looking for. And the process, again, goes just like this. They request your script, you go out and market it, they request your script, they then come back with notes. Their purpose is to option the script. And by the way, when they send you an agreement, it's an option agreement, not a services agreement. So they option the script, they then shop it, they raise funding and make the movie, right? This is the journey you want to go on. So now that you know that, let's talk about our yellow flags. And this is how it works when we're marketing with a group. When they start getting responses back from producers, we are looking for green flags, yellow flags, and red flags. Green means go, right? Yellow means caution, red means exit. So, or stop. So yellow flags. Here's the very first one is they want to meet and talk with you without reading the script. Now, by the way, on a yellow flag, I don't panic. I don't worry about it at all. I don't want you to worry about it at all. What I want you to do is observe it and recognize it. Oh, that's interesting. They want to meet with me without reading the script. All right, we're at yellow. Doesn't mean anything bad. You can do the meeting. You can have fun. You can learn from the situation. You can consider them because we're not at red yet. We're just going, that's weird. They just did this out of order. Normally, most producers who are the ones who would shop your script and go through the process will request the script before they meet because they want to see if it's worth their time interacting with you. And your script, by the way, is going to be so good that when they read it, they're going to be going, oh my God, I've got to work with this writer. Uh, if they ask you to send them a budget, there's a whole bunch of writers who will act like, okay, I get to be advanced. I'm doing something cool here. I'm putting together my own budget, and it's like, wait a minute, why are they asking you to send them a budget? Really? Think about it. Why? Yeah, I mean, you know, why? I don't know. I can't figure out why they're asking you to send them a budget. I can figure out why they would say to you, what do you think the budget is? And then you might say, oh, I think it's between 15 to 20 million or something like that. And you make a guess. And then they go, okay, that's my range. All right, send me the script. I can figure that out. But when they say, send me a budget, let me tell you the setup here so you know. We've had this happen 25 times. Somebody will say, send me a budget. The writer goes back to the producer and says, sorry, I don't have a budget. And they'll come back and say, oh, well, you need all of these things. You probably don't have these other things too. You probably don't have a lookbook. You probably haven't started looking at scheduling for production. And they'll name off a bunch of things. We just had this happen. The producer named off 8 different things that were all pre-production work, that were all things the producer's supposed to do. And then when the writer said, okay, and you're asking me because, then the producer said, well, if you don't have any of these things, then we're going to have to start putting them together. And I'll need you to be part of that. And the writer said, well, I can do one of them. I can put together a pitch deck. And the producer was like, all right. And then you'll just need to invest some money in this. And we're at that point, we're in red. So just know when they start asking you to do things that are producer jobs, that you don't get worried. Just go back to them and say, my focus is the script, and and if you need to do something else to move forward, that's okay with me. Just let me know and let's talk about it. And so when they start pitching their services, which is what this is, you'll know exactly what happened and you'll be in control of the situation. Here's another one. No notes on your script. I'll give you something, an example that is just so typical of what I've heard. This one lady comes back to me and she says, oh my God, I've got the perfect producer. And I said, really, what makes this producer perfect? And she goes, he really wants to work with me. He wants me to be involved in a lot of different ways. And he said my script was perfect. He had no notes on it. Now, we're at yellow flag with a couple of things. He wants her to be involved in a bunch of things she's never done, as in he wants her to step out of the box of being a writer and start taking on some other positions, essentially. But this is the biggest yellow flag right there. The people who think, oh, the producer gave me no notes, therefore that means something good. And it's like, and they present it a lot of times that way, like, wow, you wrote the perfect script. It's like, I can't think of a bigger just crock of shit in my life. I, it, it's just think of any backhanded compliment you've ever heard, and that's what you just got. But it's also part of a scam. So let me tell you what happened with that lady. The next time I heard from her, she told me she had already given him $5,000 on the project. And he was asking her for another 10 so that they could go into production. And by the way, this was a guy who later on got arrested because he did this to multiple writers. But it's the first yellow flag was right here. No notes on the script. Whether her script was perfect or not, if you're working with a producer who is really thinking about taking this to different actors, about getting a director on board, about what does it take to prepare for production, and they're going to do it, they're going to be asking you to make some changes in order to go into production. There are going to be things that you never thought of. There's going to be locations that they can't get at this budget. So they're going to need you to change some things there. They may have to have, they may have a low enough budget that they need you to cut some pages. Or maybe they're going to a character or an actor that is at a different age range than yours, so they need to change some things with that character. There's a whole bunch of things. But when they come back and say this, I don't go red yet. It's at yellow. And I'm just standing there going, okay, there was one. They didn't need to read the script in the beginning. And then when they came back, they said no notes. I've got 2 yellow flags right there. And I'm expecting, at this point, I'm expecting a third, but we don't act paranoid. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes we've had 3 yellow flags. And then it turned out the producer was legitimate. They were just juggling a lot of balls in their life, and they, were just asking for different things. Or they just did it in a different order than other producers, or things like that. So when it's yellow, I'm not shutting down, and I'm not standing back and going, okay, something's wrong with this producer. If it's yellow, you just need to be aware of it. Now, let me just back up. We just had a bunch of people come on. So let's do this for a second. Just real quickly, I want to go through bad with good producer because, again, a bunch of people just showed up. Bad producer doesn't need to see the script. This is the one that is running the kinds of scams that we're talking about. Good producer reads the script, gives you notes. Bad producer wants to, their purpose is to get paid by the writer. Good producer is looking to option the script. Bad producers charging for services. Good producers shopping the script. Bad producers asking you for money. Good producer is raising funding for the movie. Yellow flags. And these mean you heighten your attention a little bit, but you don't freak out. So they want to meet without reading the script. That's a yellow flag. That in reality, most producers, the vast majority of the producers, want to at least read some of your script before they consider meeting with you. If they ask you to send them a budget, this is also a yellow flag because there's the possibility they're starting to ask you to do producer jobs. And when you say you can't do them, then they're going to want to charge you to do them. No notes on the script. They gave you no notes. They told you it was a perfect script. This is a yellow flag. This often means they haven't even looked at the script. They haven't read it. It also is consistent with what a line producer does. A line producer never gives the writer notes. So it's consistent with the other side of the coin. And then them pitching you on how great they are. And this one, let me tell you what happens in a regular situation. If you're going to a producer, you're going there for them to option the script. They may take a minute and introduce themselves. If they get on Zoom with you or something like that, they may tell you about whatever their main project is or how they work or something like that. However, if they're spending more than a minute, I'm going, wow, I've never had a legitimate producer do that ever. Cheryl and I worked, we got 35 production projects into major studios and production companies. Over that period of time, we worked with about 100 different producers. Not one of them pitched us on how great they are. keep that in mind. So I'll tell you this just one story, but I've got like 20 like this. Uh, we had a writer. She calls me up. She goes, this is so exciting. I'm meeting with this producer. My husband and I are going, and the producer just loves us. And I said, okay, so what's happened so far? And she goes, oh, we sat on Zoom and listened to him tell story after story after story about the big projects that he's been involved in. And I'm like, okay, yellow flag right now. She goes, he absolutely loved our script and doesn't have any notes on it. Yellow flag number two. And he wants to meet. And I said, okay, let me just check. I want to ask you this question. Has he asked you to put up any money? And the husband steps in at that point and says, oh, no, no, everything's above board. Don't worry about that. And I said, so he hasn't asked you to put up any money? And he goes, well, we just had to get some of the initial things. We had to get a budget, right? But by the way, as soon as he asked to put up money, that's a red flag. Uh, we had to get a budget and a few other things. And I said, so how much did you put up for that? And he goes, oh, 5,000. He says, we're meeting with him in LA. They're flying to LA to meet with him. Uh, and he's going to lay out our investment in the project. And I'm like, okay, what are you expecting? He goes, oh, I don't know, 25 to 30. Now let's pause for a second. I was at yellow flag here and here. Uh, but then he took us to red flags. So here's your red flags. And by the way, let me tell you, as soon as I heard red flags, then I started having conversations with them about how to escape that situation because that it was never going to happen. So your red flags. They want you to be a producer, and this is one of the things that happened in that one. And I've had so many people come back and go, "Oh my God, the producer wants me to also be a producer and get a producer credit." And I'll say, "Have you ever produced?" And they'll go, "No, this is my first time," and they're so excited. And this is really sad because it's like now I have to tell them the truth on this. Because the reason the producer wants them to be a producer, and this is usually, again, it's a line producer, it's somebody who's done production and physical production. And I'm not saying bad things about people like that, people in physical production. My daughter works in physical production. I'm saying if they're asking you to be a producer when you've never been a producer before, that's like bringing somebody on and saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you the CEO job because you've only worked, on the front lines and you have no idea how the business runs." Why would they give you the CEO job? That's crazy. It puts the whole project at risk. Why would they do that, right? It means they're going to pay you more. Why are they saying they want to do that? Why are they volunteering? And the reason why is because that makes it legitimate for them to get paid by you, the producer. So if they say this, unless you're already a producer, unless you have producer credits and you've already done the producer job and they're talking to you about the specific job that they are hiring you to do, unless that's happening, this is a red flag. This means they're setting up the scam. So just all you got to do is you just recognize it and you go, oh, that's interesting. Why did they just ask somebody who is not a producer, knows nothing about it, to do the producer job? That makes no sense, right? And it only makes sense because of this. So, and we've been through this with really about 25 writers who, as soon as they said yes to the producer thing, the next line is, okay, then your investment in the project is X, or here are the things you're going to pay for. And they're all services that get paid to that person. So, which brings us to the next thing. They send you a services contract. Back to the couple that was coming to LA. Uh, he says, no, no, don't worry, Hal, it's all legit. I've even got a contract. And I said, okay, can you show that to me, please? And he was pretty hesitant. And when we got it, at the top of it, it said production services contract. And it listed all these things that he was now paying for. And in that case, it was set up so that he was paying for them every month. And I asked him if he saw any of those things, and the answer was no. And he'd already started paying for them. Uh, so what they're doing on this is they're listing out a whole bunch of services that they can do without having to put anything up, right? There's one guy who really hates me because I have blown 3 of his scam deals. But he basically lists out a whole bunch of services, and they're all things. I had one of the writers who went through it, spent 25,000 with him, and then he dumped her at the end. It had a timeline at the end. It was a 6-month long contract, uh, and it listed he was going to do coverage on the project. And what he did was he subbed that out to somebody. He was putting together a budget, which he sent her. He was putting together a lookbook, which he sent her, which then another writer sent me another, that had to work with the same guy, sent me another one. I compared the two. They were side by side, just almost exactly the same. All he did was just filled in some information. Charged her $25,000. He introduced her to 2 directors on the phone. Both directors had no notes on her project again because the director hadn't read it. All the director had read was a summary so that they could talk about it a little bit. They said all kinds of wonderful things. She signed a services contract and gave them a lot of money. Uh, it's if you get a services contract that lists out the services they're going to do instead of an option agreement, that's a red flag. Here's the next one. They ask you for money at any time. If they ask you for money and that wasn't a conversation that you brought up, we're just simply exiting. So they're asking you to pay them to produce. That's a no. You're out of there. And by the way, I've had some people say, well, can't I just turn it around? Listen, if they're doing all of these things, please know this isn't something you can save. They're going the opposite direction of where you want to go, and they're committed to it. So if they're getting you a services contract, asking you for money, asking you to pay to produce, making you a producer, it's like red, 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 red. You say no. And they'll say things like this: you need to have skin in the game. Here's the answer to that. You just simply say, my investment, which is the other one, and your investment is X dollars. They'll send you an agreement that basically says you're going to be a producer in the situation, and you're going to put up this money. And by the way, here's how much money you put up now, and here's how much money you put up at the next stage when they start introducing you to directors or whatever the hell it is. Uh, you know, they're not going to stop with the first one because they're used to getting paid consistently by production companies, and you've signed on as the production company. So any of these happen, it's just a red. You just exit. And exit graciously. You don't have to accuse them of things. You don't have to say all kinds of terrible things. Come back to me, tell me who they are so we can add them to our list of do not contact people. Show me the things that they've presented to you. If they presented a services contract, if they sent you an email and said, I just want to confirm that you're now producer on the project, stuff like that. If they ask you for any of these, I'd just like to see them because that just gives us more understanding. But we have been through this. Oh, I'd say we've actually been through people getting sucked in and saying no when I told them not to do it. We've been through that with about 15 people early on. Early on is in the master class, we had multiple people who got so enamored with the idea that they were going to be a producer on their own project, that this producer wanted them to go through the whole thing, that they were going to be a decision maker and all of that. They got so excited, so enamored that no matter how many times I told them not to do it, they still did it. So those 15 gave us enough understanding of what happens after you say yes. Uh, you know, but sometimes they're coming up with different ways to say this. And if that happens, please send it to me. Let me know. Now, having said that, on both the yellow and red flags, you are in control. When you lose control is when you sign some kind of services contract or you give them money. Soon as you hand them money, you just lost control. You're out of there. You're now just being played. Up until that point, you still could stand back and look at it and go, wait a minute, they just said these words. They just said this to me. They just sent me a services contract. They're telling me I'm the producer. It's like as soon as you see those yellow flags, you stand back and you go, okay, let me just watch and see. Red flags, you just exit. And so let me just highlight these so it's clear. Because I don't want anybody going down these roads. I don't, as soon as as soon as these red flags start happening, it's no longer a social experience. It's no longer something where you need to be nice to the person. Don't be mean. Don't be anything like that. Just exit graciously. You just simply say, my investment is my script. That's all I'm going to invest in this. I'm looking for a producer to option the script and take it through the process. Is that something you want to do? And if they argue back, the answer is it doesn't look like that's something they want to do. So you say, well, thank you so much. We just did it. We had one that the writer came to me and told me that she had a deal and she hadn't signed anything yet, but there'd been a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes that she just hadn't told me. So as she's telling it to me, I made a list of the yellow flags. I told her, and then she started saying the red flags, and I said, okay, you're already there. This is already red flag. And she goes, oh, but I don't believe this producer is going to ask me for money. And then I said, well, we have red flags and we have yellow flags and we have red flags. I think that's the next thing that's going to happen. And 2 days later, she came back to me and she said, the producer asked me for money. And I was like, okay, what'd you do? And she said, I used your lines. I just said, my investment is my script. And if you want to produce, if you want to option this and take it through the producing process, then I'm happy to work with you. If not, then I'll just be saying no. And the producer said, well, come back to me when you're ready to produce. And that was her easy way to get out of the producer had just gotten caught. So once they get you to agree to produce, this is one of the scams I told you. Once they get you to agree to be producer, then they are legitimately working for you, just like when they work for the studio. And this is the way they're justifying this in their mind. If the movie doesn't get made within their 6 months, it's not their fault. So the problem is you put out a whole bunch of money, you went down a wrong road. They were never really intending to produce it. So it was just like, it's a huge waste of time and money and your emotions. Second one is the line producer says, I'll produce. And in their world, when they say that, they're a line producer, they work for studios and big production companies. They mean they're providing producing services. So they charge you $25,000, which is what they charge the studio for a bunch of documents, a budget, a lookbook, production schedule, a bunch, and like 4 others. Give you a few introductions to directors who also have no notes, right? And at the end of it, you're out $25,000 and they go their way because they did what they were supposed to do in their mind. They sent you those documents and introduced you to directors. Just don't go down the journey. As soon as you find out they're a line producer, that's to me, that's an instant yellow flag. And the only way it's not a red flag is if they can now tell you the path they're going to take and it matches what I called a good producer before. So here's this other one. And this is the one that a guy got put in prison for. And this is all he got like 4 or 5 of our writers before we knew what was going on, before I had been told anything. They just came back and told me they had a deal. And I was like, spectacular. They've got a deal with a producer. They described it. It sounded really good. Then I heard them saying the words guaranteed production deal. And I was like, what exactly does that mean? And then they showed me some of their documents and what was going on. They had paid between $5,000 to $25,000. The producer, the person claiming to be a producer, had guaranteed he would get their movie produced. Then what happened was a whole series of delay after delay after delay after delay. He even had some of them fly in while he was shooting a short to show them, this is what production looks like and stuff like that. And ultimately, what he was doing was he was finding one person every month, giving them a guaranteed production deal, telling them he would do it in 18 months, and then delaying to 24 to 36, etc. But he was basically paying his bills every single month by snagging another writer. And then of course the services contract. This is the other one. There's a company out there. There's two companies that are linked. The big company is called Buffalo 8. Buffalo 8 has been doing production services and supplying equipment forever. They have a company that's linked to them, they may own it, I'm not sure exactly how it's set up, called Bondit Capital. And what Bondit Capital does is they're going out to writers. They have some legitimate projects they've done, but I'll tell you what the others look like. They write in the most vague terms that have caused so many writers to think that they have a deal with this person, this company. And then the company sends them a services contract instead of an option. Anytime you get a services contract, just stop right there. Red flag, you're out of there. Really, any of these things, red flag, you're out of there. So now that you know these 4 kinds of scams that are going on, let's talk about how to avoid them. First, please don't feed the sharks. And in this case, the sharks aren't friendly. They're not fun. They're doing something. The easiest way is don't go to line producers or production managers or anyone in physical production. Just don't. You're not looking for that. You aren't looking for somebody that you hire to make your movie. So don't go to any of these. And when you start looking them up, what'll happen is you'll see some producers, like if you on IMDb Pro, you'll see some producers who have different kinds of credits, right? And so let's say up here, we've got this executive producer credit, and then we've got one where they're the producer on the project, and then we got line producer, line producer, line producer, line producer. I'm minimum yellow flag right then. As soon as I see that, all right, the person that we're about to send this query letter out to is doing production jobs, I'm minimum yellow flag. If I look and the things that they actually have been a producer on are shorts, well, then I'm red. I'm out of there. But if you end up sending to somebody like that, don't worry, don't feel bad. All you do is just go, oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about doing physical production. I'm looking for a producer who is going to option my screenplay and take it through the process of shopping it and or getting it produced. Is that something you want to do? And if they say, well, here's what I really want to do, and they go any place besides yes, red flag, you're out of there. So uh, just watch for the yellow flags first. No panic, no worries, actually. This, here's the way I really kind of think about this. Because people are like, oh my God, I got a yellow flag. And it's like, no, there's no oh my God about it. It's like if you go to the grocery store and you see, let's say we're going to the grocery store to get a candy bar, because that's, well, if I go to the grocery store, that's what I go for. But let's say you go to the grocery store to get a candy bar, and you got the candy bars sitting next to the magazines. And you think, well, they're right next to each other. They're the same thing. So I grab a magazine and try to eat it. That's the problem. That's not the same. So I would just look at, if it's a magazine, that's a yellow flag. There's nothing wrong with that magazine being there. Nothing. Usually it means there's candy bars somewhere around it. Let's see. So that's all you're doing. You're just going, oh, okay. So there's a yellow flag there. Let's just watch and see if a red flag comes up. And if a red flag comes up, you just exit graciously. Don't get in an argument with them. Don't tell them they were bad people. Just don't do anything. Just get yourself out of that situation, reorient, and move forward with your marketing, knowing now, wow, you just found one of those sharks and you chose not to get in the water with it. Hope that makes sense. Don't be paranoid. Just don't ignore the yellow and the red flags because you're excited. This is the biggest problem that we've had. Well, problem one was most people weren't aware of it. That's why I'm doing this right now. Yes, we have a program coming up, and I'm going to tell you about that. But the other side is I want you to be aware. That's problem one. Problem two was people would get excited and would ignore obvious red flags because this producer who has so many credits just wanted to talk with me. And it's like, please don't do that. Don't become shark food just because they lured you in. As soon as you recognize the red flags, exit graciously. So, and it's pretty easy. So, okay, you're safe. I want you to know up front, you're safe. Everybody take a deep breath. Okay, so you're safe. Scams only happen about 1 to 2%. We just had a group go out to market. I think as of the number I'll show you later is like 285 or something like that. But I think there are over 290 script requests today. We had 4 or 5 different producers try to run some kind of scam. 4 or 5, we got 290 some odd script requests. They went out to, thousands of producers, and 4 or 5 tried to run a scam on them. So it's in the 1 to 2%. All you got to do is be aware, and you're in control, right? You are the decision maker up until the moment you sign the paper and hand them money. You're the decision maker, so you can make the right decision and exit if you run into that. On the others, though, please don't accuse other producers of scams because you're worried. If you see a yellow flag, you just heighten your attention and look to see if there's any reds. Now that you know all of this, you don't have to worry. It's really easy. This will stand out. It will show up. It will be different than what the other producers are doing. And I've explained it. If you're part of any class that we're ever in where we're marketing, I will highlight it over and over and over for people so that you don't have to worry. Again, if you just see the red or yellow flags, you just start watching for potential red flags. That's it. That's all it is. And then exit. So now let's talk about marketing successfully. And again, we have taken, let's see, I've probably taken 40 some odd groups through the process of marketing for 30 days straight. We just finished this one, I think last week, and that was when I went, all right, we need to market again. We need to take people into the market right now. Producers are hot. They're interested. They're looking at stuff. So we need to set this up and move forward. And this is green flag stuff. So everything from this point on is green flags. So if you were like, feeling any anxiety right now, you can just relax and let that go. Everything's fine. So let's talk about how to market successfully. So first you do the prep work so that you're ready, right? It's like a lot of times when somebody tells me that they tried to market their script and failed. Just the fact first that they say the word failed means they didn't know what they were doing. But second, what I hear a lot of times is they send out, 3 or 4 query letters and they get the first, what they call a rejection back, and they shut down at that point. And I ask them, before you sent those query letters out, what did you do to prepare? And the answer was they wrote a query letter and they found 4 producers to send it to. And it's like, oh, they didn't do any of the prep work. They didn't do anything that would have them succeed. What they did was they did something that a lot of them call testing the waters, but they didn't give themselves enough chance to even be able to find out whether it would work. The other thing is when they tell me about their rejection notice, I've had them read them to me. They'll tell me, I got a rejection notice, so I just stopped. And I'll say, what'd you do then? And they'll go, oh, I went and wrote my next script. And it's like, okay, so they read their rejection notice, and it'll be a company sending them a form letter that says, sorry, this isn't for us. Feel free to send us other projects in the future, or something like that. And I'll be like, well, even if this was a form letter, they sent you the one that fit the feel free to send us other projects in the future. And they'll go, well, he turned it down. And I'm like, no, just a second. You're now in. You can bring projects in. Something good just happened. And they still stopped marketing because they had no idea what they were doing. All they were looking for was that one moment when they could justify not taking a risk. So don't do that. Do the prep work first, right? The prep work, you're researching your producer list. You're going out and finding on IMDb Pro, you're finding producers that could fit for your project. They've done projects that are the same genre as yours and a similar budget to it. So if it's a low budget, you can just do a search. You're looking for $1 to $5 million producers for that. If it's a mid-level budget, you're looking for 15 to 30 million. 50 and above, now you're high budget. So you just make a list of those producers that have contact information, and that's who you go to. Start building your network of producers and managers. And this is something we are consistently doing when we market. Every producer that requests your script is now in your network. Every producer that you have actual interactions with, you talk with, you respond to, they respond to you, whatever it is, they just came into your network, right? Over time, your job is to build a really strong network and take project after project after project to those producers and managers who now know you. So if it's your first time marketing, you're coming in cold, right? Nobody knows you. And that is tougher than if it's your second time. But if you've gone out to the same producers with three different projects and all of them were high quality projects, now this market is warm for you. That's where we're going. So let me do a quick demo on some of these, and then I'll take you through the other keys. But I want to show you how we're now creating some of the pitches, because this is the other big key, high quality pitches. The times that people have not gotten script request, it almost always goes back to either this or they're not sending out enough. They're not going out to enough producers. But even then, most of the time, they don't have a high quality pitch. You need a high quality pitch. So this last time, I had the group, I gave them the query letter pitch, which I'll show you, which really helped. But we now have 5 different kinds of pitch materials that you can do on AI instantly. So let me just walk you over here and I'll show you this because it's really, really cool. So you know this neighborhood. Let me get the prompt here. And you'll see this one's pretty intense. It took our development team about 10 different tries to be able to come up with one that actually worked for a query letter. So here's the query letter it just created. Now I just want you to see this. The problem that most people have is they don't know how to create hooks. And so they'll try to put as much exposition into a hook as they can, or they'll write something that's overly long and that kind of thing. When a producer is looking at your query letter, I've been in the rooms when they've done that. I've actually watched them and talked with them about how they were thinking when they did it. So here's what they're looking for. If it's on email, they're just going through and glancing. And all they're glancing for is there something that piques their interest? Now, they might like my title, who knows? And by the way, I would tell them also this is a sci-fi thriller. I'm only going to them if they do sci-fis or thrillers. They might like my title. That would be my hope. But other than that, it's like they're just glancing. And what they're going to glance at is this, your opening hook. What if your dream wedding ended with your death over and over again? So that's not bad. It's intriguing, right? If I just stopped it with your dream wedding ends with your death, that's just like painful. But this says, wait a minute, something else is going on. This might be enough to get them to read the first act, right? My version of the first act here. But if not, there's a middle hook. So this is designed intentionally. I actually interviewed 50 different producers specifically about query letters. I laid them out in front of them. I talked with them. I asked them what hooked them, what got them interested. Here we are with the middle hook. Her fiance escapes 3 minutes before every explosion. Why? Now, again, I want you to see these are designed not to give a lot of information. It does give a little bit, but they're designed to have somebody go, oh my God, I got to read this. And then let's go to the last one. Can she stop the next explosion now that he's trapped in the loop too? Okay, that might be enough to get somebody to go back and read. But if it's not, here's the way we did this. I ask it then to give me potential alternative hooks. So for our opening hook, let's just see. What if your soulmate planned your murder on your wedding day? Maybe. She dies every 20 minutes until she solves her own murder. I don't know. What's worse than dying once? Reliving it with no escape. Maybe. Her dream wedding becomes a countdown to mass murder. That might be a better one, right? But all I want you to see is this. In 1 minute, we were able to come up with a complete query letter that you'll go through and you'll edit, you'll make some changes on. You don't have to worry about whether anybody cares about whether you use AI or not. No producer on this planet right now is going to say you can't use AI to create your query letter. Just know that. And producers don't care about that stuff anyway. It's only the Writers Guild basically, and they never said a single word about query letters. So this and everything else I'm going to show you is all free to do. You can absolutely do every bit of it. But you start with this. You look for what you want to keep, and then if you think the hooks aren't strong enough, which these are actually pretty good hooks, then you go down to the alternative hooks and you check to see which of these might be better. Pick the one that you like the best on each one of them, an opening hook, a middle hook, a closing hook. Start sending out your query letters. If you start getting requests, keep them. If you're halfway through marketing and let's say you've gone out to 100 or more and you haven't gotten requests, then I'd go back and redo this again, maybe put in different information, maybe stand back and stop trying to tell the story as much, just trying to make it as intriguing as possible. But again, in 1 minute, you have a better query letter than 99.5% of the writers have ever written in their whole life, spending weeks and months and getting feedback from a whole bunch of people. This is actually already a pretty good query letter, and it was the first version. So I haven't done a thing to this, and I like it. So, and then all of these help. Now, let's take this a second step. I'll show you something else. I'm only going to show you 3 of them. There's actually 5, but let's go with this one. So these are our phone pitches. And again, most people have a tendency to want to tell as much as they can. I'm looking for how can I say something in 30 seconds that will have the producer go, oh, that's in the ballpark. Let's talk, right? I haven't looked at these at all. Let's just see what they say. Hi, this is Hal Krosman. I'm an option screenwriter. I have a sci-fi thriller called Vanquished. It's about a female scientist trapped in Groundhog Day. Maybe. In a Groundhog Day loop on a space station that explodes every 20 minutes. Okay, I'm taking out this part, and I would just say it's about a female scientist trapped in a Groundhog Day loop on a space station. Excuse me. Now, let's talk about what just happened. Again, there's one, there's a second version, there's a third version. So we have 3 different types. Let's see what this one says. This one right here. I have a sci-fi thriller called Vanquished. It's about a female scientist who must solve the biggest mass murder in the universe. I just stop right there. They're then going to ask questions. You might follow up with some of this other information. It compared it this way. It's like Edge of Tomorrow with a major mystery. You know what? I mean, really, on these, so I've only read 2. I would then go to the third. But on these are already strong enough. If I just eliminate some of the extra information, I could use these on the phone and have success. Now, let's now take this. I want to show you a third thing. And this is, I think you'll find this really interesting. We ask ourselves this question. The writer is going to get into either a phone conversation or the producer is going to come back to them with questions. So the producer asks you a question. Do you know how to answer it? Now, again, I'm not saying AI has the perfect answers, but we're going to look at them right now. So a producer says to you, where do you see a home for this project? This happens sometimes. Sometimes they'll say, okay, where do you see this going? Right? They're wondering, where does it go? So the way we've set this up, it tells you first, where might it go? So in this case, Netflix, and then it gives you a reason and some examples. So you could answer this question. They say, where do you think it might go? You could say, well, Netflix has been leaning into sci-fi thrillers. Let's see, they've got the Silent Sea. They've got 3%, Black Mirror. Those have all come out recently. I think this fits their global audience. I want you to just see what happened. I'm not presenting myself as an expert. I'm not saying anything like that, but I just made sense in their world. I didn't do what most people do, which is, oh, I don't know, any streamer maybe, right? Uh, I have an answer to why Netflix might work. I have an answer to why Amazon Prime might work, Apple TV, including some of the projects that they came up with, Foundation, Silo, this fits for those. HBO, Paramount Plus, right? So I've got answers that all make sense, right? That all fit. And it doesn't mean that the producer is going to take it to Netflix, but you just gave them the opportunity to consider Netflix in a way that made sense. They're going to add it to their list. Now they're saying to themselves, and this is important, let's say you just kind of rattled off some of these and you said, oh, let's see, well, Netflix, maybe they just did these. Uh, Amazon Prime, they've got The Expanse and Upload, right? So that might fit. Let's see, Apple did Foundation and Silo, right? Let's just say you just said those things. The producer now sees this selling. They ask you one question and they just saw pathways for them selling your project. Pretty interesting. Let's see what happens with this. Casting suggestions. Sometimes they'll ask this, who do you see in this role? Dr. Evelyn Hart, she's our lead female character. Florence Pugh, I'm good with that. You know, any of these others, whichever. Who do you see in the male role? Here's John Hamm. I don't know if I would say John Hamm in that, but you never know. He could sell it. The AI Nova, the voice, Kate Blanchett. Yes, I could say yes to that. You know, and then the lead supporting character on this. Uh, you've got some answers and you've got a reason why they might fit and some other movies they've been involved in, right? So what just happened once again is in 1 minute, we just did what would normally take people 4 or 5 days of research and thinking, unless you were already inside the industry and knew all of this, right? And you come across as professional. You don't say a whole bunch of other things. Notice you don't say 4, 5, 6 sentences about this actor. You don't try to prove your case. You're not doing any of those. You're just spitballing. You're throwing out ideas, and you look pretty damn smart. That I want that to happen for you. And then when they ask for comps, so it gives a list of comps, and then it tells you why those comps could work. So you've already got something you can say that makes sense. And then finally, this one right here. This one, the first time it happened, why this project? Why now? Why you? Or in my case, why me? A producer said this, and Cheryl and I are sitting in a room, and it stumped me. I was like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "I'm just wondering why this project? Why now? Why you?" And I'm like, "What? What are you trying to ask me?" uh, so Cheryl, and by the way, the producer was kind enough. I said, "Listen, I've never heard that question before," and he goes, "Well, you will." And he was kind enough to talk with me about it. So, you know, uh, so what's your answers? You have an answer to why this project, right? It blends an emotional female lead, a high concept time loop, space station intrigue, right? You go, you know, so it's like at least you have something to answer. Why is this the right time? Audiences are craving intelligent, emotionally driven stories, blah, blah. I wouldn't say that. But here's what I would say on this. I'd say, you know, we've entered the age of AI. This is a high level AI project. It also is something that uh, causes that will engage people deeply. They're going to be worrying with this character, just like you were in Groundhog Day or one of the others. Why am I the right person? I'm an option screenwriter. I specialize in sci-fi thrillers, uh, and we could just stop right there. But at least at minimum, you have some answers that make sense, that fit in the ballpark, that aren't you going, I don't know what to say, which is basically what I did. Luckily, I turned it into an interview and the producer explained every one of these. And from that point on, we're good. So these are 4 of about 10 questions. I just wanted to show you a few of them so you could see, but I just want you to get this. We've got it now at a level with the prompt that we have. We have a high level prompt on all of these. We worked with them. We tried so many different variations. We now have it where it's giving us legitimate answers that make you look good, make you look smart, and fulfill what the producer needs in that situation. Now, having said that, let's go back over here. So we've got 2 others that I haven't shown you, but basically all the pitches that you'll be doing, you'll be able to get an AI version and then work with them. The AI version that we have gives you a high level version of it that then you can start editing, you can start making changes where there are things you don't like. You keep the things that are really great about them, which so far every one of these, I've seen things that were great about them and absolutely would work. And you move forward, you know, and go into the pitches knowing that you've got something that can succeed. And as for these query letters, they are significantly better than the things we were doing in the master class. That was getting us still hundreds of requests, but these now match 2025 instead of 2018, that kind of thing. So it is worth mastering that. Key number 2, and I'll just finish these off real fast. Nonstop aggressive marketing. This is the key to your success. Once you have a great pitch and you have the answers to what producers need, this is what you do. And here's the thing. The truth is you only need one producer, but it may take many script requests to find that one. We have people who have gotten 5 script requests and made a deal. We also have people who've gotten 50 script requests and made different kinds of deals. One of the writers in the last group got 50 script requests and she got a writing assignment already. She got a manager out of that. She hasn't sold her script yet. So there's 47 producers right now that are reading her script. We'll see what happens with that. But what she was doing was she marketed it aggressively, and she's already had more success than ever in her life as a writer because of that. We have a whole bunch of different strategies that can get you in the door. Your objective is to get your project in front of as many producers as possible. And let me say one other thing. When you get them to look at your script and to interact with you, they now become part of your network. Even if it doesn't fit for them for some reason, you can go back to them with your next project and your next project and your next project. So the writer I was just talking about, whatever happens with those 47 script requests that are still out there, she will be going back to them with her next project, and she'll go into open arms. She'll go into a place where they already know her. They've already seen a project before. And when she brings the second one to them and it's even better, they're going to be going, oh my God, this writer isn't a fluke. She didn't have just one. She's amazing. And now they're going to start going out of their way to work with her. They already are. she has a manager, and she got a writing assignment out of it. It's like this works. The thing of just dipping your toe in the water doesn't work. So third, then you want to interact well with the producers and managers. And this means understanding their needs, right? The prompt that we just had that had questions answered will have you, it all fit, it understood their needs. It'll have you interacting with them more professionally. You're speaking their language, right? You're there for business, not to protect your words in the script. And you're moving through the steps naturally, not freaking out at each step. And this is just something that we take really good care of you so that you can do that. And then it's about your deal making philosophy. A lot of times people come in thinking they're going to make the perfect deal, or they go out to market and it's like it's part of the perfectionist thing. It's also part of a failure syndrome. Going in saying, my first time in, I've got to make the perfect deal, is, unless you have a big agent, that's just crazy. And it's setting you up for failure. So don't do that. Come in to make a good deal and move your career forward, right? That's what we're here for. All of those people that you hear about who, first time writer makes big studio deal, I've interviewed 20 of those people, and they were like, well, I was a first time writer to the studio. And I'll go, wait a minute, what does that mean? And they go, well, I had a couple of small indies made, or I got optioned before this, but with this studio, it was the first time I interacted with them and made the deal. And it's like, oh, they had options before. They got little movies made before. They worked their way up. They made a good deal that moved their career forward, and that's what got them to that studio deal. That's what we're doing here. Uh, and then you just want to know that what this deal is really about. When they give you some kind of deal, you want to be looking at it and understanding. But for you, is it about perfection, or is it about moving your writing career forward? If it's about perfection, well, again, you need to be in that perfect world. You need to be at that studio. You need to be with a big agent. You need to have the things that go with perfection. So, and then you've got to replace fear-based thinking with deal-making strategies. This is probably one of the biggest things. There's a lot of people out there that tell writers all kinds of scary things, that are really just that person's fear-based thinking. I've been in so many of those other Facebook groups where if somebody says they have a potential deal, a bunch of fear-based writers will jump on it and do everything they can to kill it. And they're doing that because they're afraid they can't do it. And so they're going to tell you every fear they've ever had. They don't want you to succeed. So stay away from them. Don't post your deals to any of those Facebook groups. If you're working with me on this thing, I will walk through your deal with you and talk with you about it. And then this is the other big thing. Your deal is not about someone else's judgments. So this isn't, if you get a deal, your job is to go find out if everybody in the world approves it. Their judgments are all about their fears. They're inside them. It has nothing to do with you or your deal or your career. They don't know. So you don't present your deals to other people who are outside of this process. They have no understanding of what's going on. And almost everything they'll tell you will be about trying to shut you down and keep you from succeeding. Don't listen to them. So our current score, this is what we have right now in this group. And it's a little higher. This was what I looked yesterday. There are 286 script requests, 4 deals already, and 1 manager so far. And I want you to look at this. They just finished 30 days of marketing about 3 days ago. I want you to just notice this. When we have this many script requests, we're going to be finding out what producers think over the next 60 days, right? It's like 4 deals have already come in, which is producers saying, wow, these projects are amazing. I want to risk my career on your project. Uh, this group probably is going to have between 8 to 10 deals. It's a small group. They're probably going to have 8 to 10 deals. They may get another manager in the midst of that. Most of them are having well, every one of them are having more success than they've ever had, and most of them are having the first start of their real writing career. So I was really, really happy with this group. They were amazing. We started from the very beginning, the session we're going to do tomorrow, and basically we just started focusing on what will it take to create success. So let me just walk you through this program. And I invite you to join us for this because starting tomorrow, this program is moving forward. Now, I'll tell you how it works so you know. But we start with the prep class, which is tomorrow. This is about you selecting your project, right? Project number 1 and project 2. Project selection is your first most important decision. You need to select something that is going to give you the easiest chance to make a deal there is. Our whole purpose in this prep class is to set you up for success, right? That's the job. And so we're going to spend the time, I'll walk through it in more detail in a moment, but all the work we do starting tomorrow is about getting you ready to be able to come in and market aggressively. Then from there, then we go to a 4-week direct prep for market. The first prep is about prepping your project. It's about having you prepping your mental state, what it takes for you to succeed. Then from there, we go to 4 weeks that is all preparation for market, right? You're creating your bait, which means you're going to use all the prompts I just gave you, and you'll use those to create all of your pitches. You'll create your bait, because without strong bait, you're in trouble. But with strong bait, you can have stuff that really happens. You're creating your plan. What's the plan you're going to use to market aggressively? Then we go into 4 weeks of marketing aggressively. We do this as a group. We market nonstop. This will change your life if you've never done it before. And if you have done it before, I invite you to come in and do it at twice the pace. That's part of the success that we just had. We had like 6 people that were just going for it at full speed. And they have a better journey. They have a wonderful journey because of that. So we market nonstop. Everybody cheers each other on. We work together as a group. I answer questions every single day as we're going through it. And when you get a potential deal, I will coach you through that process. I'm not an attorney. I won't be coming on as a producer. I'm not attaching any of me to that. So you don't have to worry about any, covert agendas. This whole thing is about, I want you to succeed. So this is why we market as a group. First, it's incredibly motivating. And it's that thing when people are marketing by themselves, a lot of time, if they don't have success early, they give up. And it's painful, but ours is motivating and fun. We cheer each other on to success. You're inspired by others' successes. You also get to see different marketing strategies in action. We're going to see some people who try one marketing strategy and have tremendous success. And you may stand back and go, wow, I didn't have that success. What are they doing differently? Every time I end up answering over 100 questions they're not like speculative questions like, what happens if? They're questions like this. The producer said X to me, what do I do? And then I'll tell you, based on what the producer said, I'll say, respond this way. In many cases, I'll give you word for word what to say. And then I'll say, here's what's going on. Make sure that you watch for this thing. You're going to have a much better chance of success at this than probably any marketing you've ever done. And we celebrate the wins together. When you make your deal, everybody in the group will celebrate with you. We're on your side. We believe in you. You're part of it. We're doing this together. We're all working together. So let me just walk you through the prep here. What's going to happen tomorrow? And this is, I'm inviting you to join us. You're going to, I'll go through how to choose projects to pitch, right? That you're going to pitch. So you're looking for what's the project that is the easiest thing you can pitch. What is it that'll get them to say yes to? That's important because if you make the decision up front, pre-selection is 90% of your success. If you make the right decision up front, you're in great shape. We've had two things happen in these last two sessions. One was somebody who made the right decision. One was somebody who didn't. I'll tell you the didn't first. This lady told me, I want to market this script. And I said, tell me your pitch. And she told it to me. And I'm like, do you have anything else that's more marketable? And she goes, yes, I do, but I want to market this one. And I was like, I can't hear a pitch that works. So we tried. She was starting with something that had no chance, and she ended with that. I tried to talk her out of it 3 times. She just said, no, I'm doing it. So I was like, fine. She got 0 script request. Really sad. The opposite of that was one of the people that just got a lot of script requests. She had multiple projects to choose from. She said, I could do this one, this one, this one. One of them stood out to me. I said, if you can make the other 2 pitches better, come back. But if not, this one is amazing. I think you can sell that one. She got more than 30 script requests. And it's like she picked a project up front that was easily pitchable, and it made all the difference. Now, next, we're going to talk about where to get feedback on your scripts, because you're going to have about a month and a half in between tomorrow and the day we actually start the prep for marketing. So I want you to get feedback on your script now. I can give you a way to do it that doesn't cost you any money, or if you want to go to somebody else, you can. I don't care. But I want you to get feedback on your script now so that when you do get script requests, they are looking at an incredible script that works, right? Then we'll then talk about how to do the rewrite quickly and easily so that you just fly through it. And we're going to build empowerment and success into your future. And this is, any of you who've worked with me on our empowerment stuff, it changes people's lives. We just had somebody in this last group that said she had marketed it with us before, only got a few script requests. This time she came in, she's got more than 30, and she said it was the empowerment that caused her to go, wait a minute, I can do this. Why don't I just go for it? And so she went on the journey as somebody who was excited instead of somebody who was afraid. She went on as somebody who was empowered instead of somebody who was holding back. It changed her life. So this starts again tomorrow. All of our classes, by the way, all of our meetings are on Sundays. So June 8th, tomorrow, at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Join us. If for some reason you don't make that, I can get your recording. But we're doing this live. You will be able to ask questions. We'll work together. Our whole purpose is to have you succeed. So by the time we're done, even with this session, you will know exactly what you're doing. You will have a plan. You'll go to work at that point. You'll choose the right project. You'll get feedback on those scripts. You'll do the rewrite quickly. You'll continue to empower yourself every single day. And that will bring us to step 2, which is 4 weeks of prep for market. So here, now I'm going to give you the prompts at this point to create your query letters. You don't need them up to this point. You needed to get your script ready. You will create amazing query letters and all of your pitches. So this, again, it's something that you can actually create, at least the first draft that you saw me create, in 3 minutes. And you have all your pitches already laid out. And then you start working with them and elevating them. If there's one that you want to change everything, absolutely do it. Try it out. We will practice pitching during this period of time. You'll select a bunch of marketing strategies that can get you in the door. So you already know what's the marketing strategies you're going to use. You will do the preparation for those. We will practice pitching together. We'll practice pitching both on Zoom, where you guys are face to face with each other, and one's pretending to be a producer, the other one's the pitching, and then you'll switch. We'll also practice pitching on the phone. So you guys will partner up and go through a series of practices together that are completely safe. By the time we're done with just this, you will be so much better than almost every writer that's coming into this industry out there. You will have this down. You will feel comfortable. If a producer asks you a question, you'll just feel naturally comfortable and you'll do it. We will also practice answering the producer questions now that you have answers, and you'll get great at this. From there, then you're going to prepare to market aggressively, which means you're going to be building your market, you're going to be building your network, your producer list, all of those kinds of things. This session, the 4-week prep, starts on Sunday, July 13th. It goes every single Sunday. From that point on, we're meeting every Sunday, nonstop at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Again, if for some reason you can't be there, we'll get you a recording. Then we go to step 3, which is 4 weeks of aggressive marketing. Most people think marketing is scary. We do it in a way that it's incredibly fun. We go for it, right? We're fielding script requests. We're interacting with producers and managers. We're creating the opportunities for deals. That's what this whole thing is about. I answer questions every day to make sure you succeed. So you don't ever have to worry about whether you'll know what you're doing or not. Just reading the answers to the questions will give you a complete understanding of everything you need to know working with producers. And that starts again on August 10th. This is all part of the same thing. It's a full program that's just has these 3 steps. So, during it, when we get to marketing, while we're marketing, I will prep you for marketing. We will practice for marketing. But while we're marketing, we'll be discussing what's going on. So week 1 skills is all about marketing producers. Week 2, then I'm going to tell you how to get paid writing assignments. I'll walk you through that whole process. For those of you who haven't done our paid writing assignment class, this is a short version of it, but it will be enough so that if these producers come back and they say, sorry, the project's not for me, you can just respond with a simple sentence I give you that increases the chance you might still get a deal. Week 3, then it's about landing a manager, and I'll walk you through what managers need, what's important. I'll remind you of everything that you're doing that works for managers. If you haven't been going out to managers at that point, you can choose to if you want. If you're not ready for a manager, no problem. You just keep marketing to producers all the way through. And then finally, week 4, by this time, we're starting to have deals showing up. I'll walk you through the deal-making strategies that we have and the philosophy at that point. So as producers are coming back to you and you're fielding their intentions to work with you, you'll be completely capable, completely confident. You will know what you're doing. So again, starts tomorrow. That's the prep meeting. Then we go into prep for marketing on July 13th. August 10th, we go into marketing nonstop for 4 weeks with me walking you through it. The normal price on this is $500. What I'm giving you right now is the special that we had, I think, 2 weeks ago. So you're getting in at half price, $249. And this is the link for that. If you need a payment plan, you can do 3 payments of $95, and this is the link for that. So think about this. What's happening in this market at the present moment is it is still gearing up. We're already having deals happening. There are more movies being made at the present moment than were 3 months ago. Producers are more active now, and they're going to continue to be more active for the next 6 months. So this gets us in. You're going to be standing there on August 10th when more deals are happening for them, and they're going to be even hungrier than they are right now. So if what you want to do is get your script in front of producers, if you want to have the chance at getting optioned or maybe going through and even getting a movie made, come join us. I promise you, this is going to be a fun, exciting journey. All the way through, I will be telling you things that most people don't know, that they don't hear, that will have you be a more professional writer, and you'll be in the midst of actually doing it. Think about the difference between somebody telling you how to ride a bike versus getting on and actually writing it. This is the writing. You are going to be in the midst of it. You are going to be with a whole group of people that are all marketing aggressively. The group has already signed up for this is amazing. We have 2 or 3 of our top performers in there. So no matter what, you're going to get to see the people who go for it. And in the midst of it, somewhere along the way, you'll say, I'm going to do that. And it'll feel comfortable at that point, and you'll just make it happen. So if you've ever been worried about this will take the fear away. This will make sure that you're confident, but it'll also give you a real chance at success. And from this point on, you will have a network that you can go back to with every project you write. So it's going to be an incredible change for you. It's going to do what you want it to do. Come join us. Nobody can guarantee a deal or that kind of thing, but what I can tell you is we're getting deals. We had 4 already on this one, and usually the deals don't start showing up to the last week. That's when these showed up. They're going to continue. We're going to have 8 to 10 deals for a very small group of people. That means you have a chance if you just came in and went on the journey with us. So again, write the link down that fits. This one's bit.ly, bit.ly/pitch sell repeat. So that's for that special price, which will change in about 3 days. This one, 3 payments of $95. This one will just go away. This one's bit.ly/pitch sell repeat payment. So pick the one that works best for you. Come join us. I promise you, you will love who this makes you into and how much more capable and fun and exciting the journey is going to be for you. So with that, it was great hanging out with you all, and I will see you in the class tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.